The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness on this atonement night. We give thanks for love. Thank you, Shil. Thank you, Cantor. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'nitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim. Amen.
Kol Nidre ve'asarei ve'charamei ve'konamei ve'chinuyei ve'kinusei Yom Kippurim zeh al Yom Kippurim Habalenu l'Torah Kulhon Icharana Yehon Sharan Yehon Sharan Metalin umevurtalin If you've chosen to rise, you may be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושננתם לבניך, ודיברת בעם, בשבתך ובביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
מלכות Adonai sifatai tiftach ufia gita hilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Omer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imachot, u'mevii geula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shemo be'ahava.
Zochreinu l'chayim, melech hafetz b'chayim, v'chotvenu b'sefer chayim, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
שלום רב על ישראל
The following names for the Misha Beirach were received by Emanuel Congregation before September 16th, 2020. Please share additional names in the chat. Laura Keena Aronson, Barbara Berman, Harvey Baller, David Burchett, John Cameron, Faiga Sora Bachaya, Carol Cohen, Linda Danielson, Francine Fields, Eslyn Garb, Royce Gardner, Sandra Gagios, Carter Glass, Don Grandolfo, Mimi Harris, Werner Hyman,
Jane Herron, Priscilla Hill, Harold Katz, Anne Marie Kuleza, Robert Langfelder, Louise Leigel, Roy Lloyd, Gerald Marks, Stephen Melnick, Lauren Meserve, Deborah Miller, Jimmy Miller, Nikki Moulton, Moshe Ben-Chava Vanatan, Jordan Narenberg,
Nicole Newcomb, Larry O'Neill, Don Olson, Mark Perlman, Rodney Qualls, Alan Sager, Kristen Rau Skinner, Maria Sklyanskaya, Linda Stahl, Tali Stein, Michael Van Buren, Francie Valinsky, Virginia Wharton, Nachum Feivel Ben Gedalia Umasha.
Additional names received before September 25th include Joan Bransfield, Amber Noy, and David Rosenthal.
We hold these people, those named in the chat and the unnamed in our communities, in our hearts, as we sing the Misha Beirach together, as led by Jeff, Spencer, and Sammy Tweedy.
Misha Beirach Avotenu Mikor Havracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Beirach Imotenu Nekor Havracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt. We commit crimes. We are hostile, we are stubborn. We are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray. We lead others astray.
Kerachim
Over 50 years ago, in Selma, Alabama, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel joined the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and fellow Americans in the Voting Rights March of 1965. Seeking to end racial discrimination in voting, Rabbi Heschel, Reverend Dr. King, and their fellow sojourners made firm steps toward justice for all. When he returned, Rabbi Heschel had this to say: "For many of us, the march from Selma to Montgomery was about protest and prayer. Legs are not lips, and walking is not kneeling. And yet, our legs uttered songs. Even without words, our march was worship. I felt my feet were praying."
5 years ago, on the Journey for Justice, organized by the NAACP, the Religious Action Center, and others, I felt my feet were praying as I marched from the outskirts of Raleigh, North Carolina, to the southern border of Virginia, honoring the March of '65, a Torah scroll from Chicago's Sinai Congregation wrapped in my arms, girding my feet.
My colleagues in faith gathered online recently for ECRA's Circle of Solidarity and Anti-Racism. And our group leader began with the question, what would a world without racism look like? I thought about how I'd answer, and my mind went immediately to a very important children's book I read this summer, Anti-Racist Baby, by Dr. Ibram X. Kendi. Anti-Racist Baby is bred, not born. Anti-Racist Baby is raised to make society transform. Babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There's no neutrality. Take these 9 steps to make equity a reality. Step 1, open your eyes to all skin colors. Anti-Racist Baby learns all the colors, not because race is true. If you claim to be colorblind, you deny what's right in front of you. Step 2, use your words to talk about race. No one will see racism if we only stay silent. If we don't name racism, it won't stop being violent. Step 3, points at policies as the problem, not people. Some people get more, but others get less because policies don't always grant equal access. Step 4, shout. There's nothing wrong with people. Even though all races are not treated the same, we are all human. Anti-Racist Baby can proclaim. Step 5, celebrate all our differences. Anti-Racist Baby doesn't see certain groups as better or worse. Anti-Racist Baby loves a world that's truly diverse. Step 6, knock down the stack of cultural blocks. Anti-Racist Baby appreciates how our groups speak, dance, and create as they choose. Anti-Racist Baby welcomes all groups voicing their unique views. Step 7, confess when being racist. Nothing disrupts racism more than when we confess the racist ideas that we sometimes express. Step 8, grow to be an anti-racist. Anti-Racist Baby is always learning, changing, and growing. Anti-racist baby stays curious about all people and isn't all-knowing. Step 9. Believe we shall overcome racism. Anti-racist baby is filled with the power to transcend and doesn't judge a book by its cover, but reads it until the end.
Now, I've heard the Dalai Lama had the very same problem when he visited the Museum of Tolerance. In fact, his assistants were so concerned that His Holiness might feel insult over the insinuations of prejudice that they tried to get the museum staff to unlock the other door. But the Dalai Lama would have none of that. And like me and so many other visitors, he learned that prejudice comes in all shapes and all sizes, sometimes loud, dangerous, and irrational, sometimes quiet, subtle, and sincere, sometimes oblivious, sometimes invisible, sometimes hateful, sometimes not. To this day, I understand the lesson I learned that day so long ago. Good, decent people, just like me, just like you, judge others. We act with prejudice. It's nearly impossible to rid ourselves of prejudice completely, but we can strive for awareness of it and then mitigate prejudice whenever we can and wherever we can. Such intentionality is hard, especially when we don't realize an attitude adjustment is in order. But then again, there's no such thing as not prejudiced. There's no such thing as not racist. There's no neutrality. We can choose to be racist or we can choose to be anti-racist. There's no in between. May we keep Dr. Kendi's wisdom in mind as we march together toward a more perfect union. Our lips and our legs full of prayerful song. Our spirits steadfast enough along the moral arc of the universe to get the jobs of justice and equality and dignity done, and done completely. And may we heed the enduring vision of my late friend Middle Passage, Alava Shalom, who I met along the Justice Trail. We're working together as a unit for the betterment and justice of everybody, regardless of race, creed, color, or religion. We're all in this together. And make sure to vote. Let us then, Chevre, let us struggle onward, and let us stay in the fight.
Yom Kippur offers a special opportunity, a spiritual opportunity to return to a place of legitimacy, a cleansing humility before God, community, and self. The Vidui, which is so central in our prayer experience, can be a window into our souls, enabling us to take a good, honest look at our moral inventory. This accounting of soul we call Cheshbon HaNefesh. And through introspection and evaluation and memory, we awaken the authenticity in our lives and reunite ourselves with the precious realness within. We ask key questions of ourselves. Who am I? What is my potential? Have I acted with faith or distrust? Have I acted with love and understanding or prejudice and ill will? The great Rav Kook taught that we cannot heal our society without deep inner teshuvah. This teshuvah puts us on the right path, a path that leads to our greatest authenticity, a path that opens our minds and our hearts to our greatest humanity, a path that makes it possible for us to forgive those who deserve rebuke.
We must confess when being racist because, as Dr. Kendi has taught us, nothing disrupts racism more than when we confess the racist ideas that we sometimes express. And in the spirit of confession, I have one to make right now. It may not seem on the surface to be such a big deal, but I wish to show you just how simple and subtle racism can be. I've had some practice at this confession as I made it to my colleagues in faith, but now I make it to you, my community. Essential to my confession is the recognition that I had made an unintentional clothing decision, one that reflected something I came to learn is hurtful to my black colleague, something we would discuss that very day. That is an awful history of black-faced, white-gloved minstrels that demean black people. Quite unconsciously, I came to a circle of solidarity and anti-racism with a shirt that flouted that very pain. In retrospect, no one even noticed my choice. But I did. And I felt guilt. I felt shame. I felt disappointment. And I felt I had to make the situation right. I researched. I learned. I prepared. And I returned to the circle, repentant. The words of confession are key to lifting the veil that leaves us so oblivious. Just as Dr. Kendi coaches us on the necessity of confession, so does our Machzor. Al chet shechatanu lifanecha, b'yomdim uvlo yomdim. For harm we have caused in your world consciously and unconsciously, for succumbing to racism and disdaining those different from myself, for keeping silent when we should have spoken out, for failing to feel empathy and act with compassion, for forgetting that we always have a choice. For each transgression, we must speak these words out loud so that somehow, as the Velveteen Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt teaches, the whole universe hears them and holds us accountable. All said, though, words are not enough. Attitude is also key. Attitude adjustment and intentionality. Consistent intentionality. And finding a way, as our old friend Rabbi Edwin Goldberg teaches, to replace our selfish obliviousness with a renewed recognition of a world that needs our attention to be redeemed.
In February 1993, the Museum of Tolerance opened in Los Angeles. It just so happens that I taught and coached next door at Yeshiva High, an Orthodox boys' school. One afternoon, I walked over to the museum. Inside, I approached two doors. One said prejudiced. The other said not prejudiced. As I approached the doors, I stopped, flashing back over my life. I thought long and hard about my own prejudice. So finally, after weighing my choice, I decided that I had sufficiently overcome my prejudices, and I would walk through the door marked not prejudiced. And guess what? It was locked. I had to go through the other door, the one marked prejudiced. And to this day, what happened after I walked through the door remains with me. The lessons still ring true. Just as prejudice can be loud and dangerous, it can also be ever so subtle, ever so sneaky, ever so invisible. Good, decent people can have prejudice, and it's nearly impossible to rid ourselves of it completely. Dear God, on this Yom Kippur morning, ruffle us from our complacency. Make us know the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Vex us, O God, and let not your Shabbat Shabbaton be a day of slumber. Rather, let this faithful time spur us to sacred action. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar me'od, v'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. The whole world is a narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not to be afraid. May we all be inscribed and sealed in the book of life for hope and healing. May God assuage our fears. Amen ve'amen.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
The time may be distant and the outcome uncertain. For how could suffering endemic to the human condition ever come to an end? Cessation of desire, relinquishing attachment, diminished expectations. All these might ease the pain of being alive, or decide instead that you'll continue to dream, hope, remain fiercely attached to bringing a better day, even if the outcome's uncertain and the time is very distant.
As we read the following names for Kaddish, please share additional names to the chat.
Stuart Blankstein, James Bonham, Abe Brenner, Mort Cohen, Ida Dubrovsky, Jack Eisenberg, Renee Lipschutz Epstein, Charlotte Gilbert, Max Goldberg, Joshua Goldenberg, Rose Good, Effie Greenberg, Hope Grossman, Woody Guthrie, Simon William Hurwich, Robert Leon Hutner,
Selma Kantoff, Alexander Levy, Ruben Rudolph Louis, Alex Markles, Florence Cooper Meyer, Bernice B. Minkus, Haskell Morris, Bernard Newman, Molly Oyring, Angelo Oropesa, Evelyn Pearlstein, Howard Pearlstein, Nancy Lynn Phillips, Celia Plotke, Morton Sumner Postelnick, Robert Reimer.
Celia Rose, Alan Maurice Scheffner, Leah Silver, Leon Oli Skoronsky, Adolf Stieber, Jim Stone, Adolf Sold, Robert Tokarski, Ella S. Weiss, Dr. Morris Weiss.
And in recent days, Carolyn Byron, Professor Sheldon Liebman, Noreen Alper, Sharon Vadabankur, Tanya Berman Barliant, Betty Cohen, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
We rise in body and or spirit and or as is your custom for the Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye decho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv ve'emru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevorach leolam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma ve'meru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen.
Tiki Agidolah.